All right, so we are continuing the 99 names of Allah, and we are going to do Al-Muhyamin and Al-Aziz today. So just a recap, we're learning about the 99 names in order to better understand who we're worshiping, as well as how we can apply this in our daily lives so that when we learn these 99 names, we apply them to our worship, and then inshallah, this is a really easy way to get into Jannah, is understanding and applying these names. So, starting with Al-Muhyamin, so this name has multiple definitions. One of the common ones is known as the guardian, but you'll also see the protector, the controller, the witness. These are all parts of this name. And when we think of Al-Muhyamin, we're thinking of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as the one who is in control of everything. And we are in need of him and he's not in need of us. Right? And so the way that this world functions, right, there are people that are in positions of power, people in high ranks. And a lot of the times when we look at how can I, pursue a certain opportunity, or how can I take advantage of certain things, I'm always thinking of like, who's my connection? Who's that person that I can look to that's going to help me get there? And of course, yes, we do leverage these connections, but what we need to keep in mind is that ultimately Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is actually the one in control of everything. So he's in control of who's sent your way, what's sent your way, the outcome itself. So for instance, I could go to the doctor, right? And the doctor has some level of control, right? He can give me treatments, he can, help me diagnose my illness, he can work, but the doctor does not have ultimate authority on the outcome. So in order for me to be truly the one that is fully in control, which we are not capable of being, obviously, that's only a title for Allah, but he has the ability, he has the power, and he has all of the knowledge, right? And so we as humans are limited to how much we know, how much control we actually have. We can only do so much to push towards a certain outcome. So when we are in need of something, the idea is that, and we've kind of talked about this when it comes to Al-Malik and other names, is that we should recognize that we're asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala first for his help because he's ultimately the one who's in control, and then we utilize the resources that he's provided to us. So if I'm sick, Ya Allah, please grant me shifa, please heal me. And then I go and I use the tools that he's given me. So I go see a doctor, I go and take medicine, right? These are all things that Allah has put in our path for us to get better. And the way that we look at it is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has the ability to do whatever he pleases. And he's always going to do what's best for you. So just because I'm looking to Allah who's in control, it doesn't always mean I'm going to get the result that I'm looking for, but that might be because that's not the result that's actually good for me, right? So when we think about the outcome, we are very outcome-driven people. We want a good result. We always want the result to be in our favor. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will shape it in your favor, but it may not necessarily come the way that you expect it to. So it might look bad, and we talked about this a little bit last week, where it might look bad, but everything that happens to a believer is considered khair. It's considered to be good for you. So even though it might not look the best, in the long term, the outcome is going to be in your favor. And we have to recognize too that because he's the one who's in control, he's the one who's watching over us, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is in charge of your destiny. And we talk about fate a lot in this religion, and part of being a believer is believing in fate, believing that there is written qadr, or destiny, right? And in believing that, I recognize that every single person that comes into my life, or every single thing that's provided to me, is provided from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with purpose. So I come across people and they are put in my path for a reason. I may not necessarily know the reason or understand it, but they are there for a purpose. You don't meet people by accident. So a couple of examples that come to mind for me is I have someone who's close to me recently who went to do her first washing of the dead. So she was helping wash a dead body, and it was her and a couple of other ladies, because they need multiple people because it's hard to do by yourself. And one of the ladies, it was also her first time, and she freaked out. When she saw the body, she's like, I can't do it. And she kind of held off to the side a little bit. And so to some extent, she felt a little bit guilty because she's like, I feel like I didn't participate, or like I didn't do what I was supposed to. But that woman actually was there while she was distracting herself from what she was seeing because she was so freaked out. She was actually talking to the daughter of the deceased. Now, I don't know if the daughter was not Muslim or what the situation was, but she didn't seem to really understand the process of washing the dead. So this woman actually ended up being the one walking her through it, explaining what they're doing, kind of comforting her a little bit. And so the person that's close to me was telling this lady, maybe you didn't actually get to participate in the washing, but you were there for a reason. You were there to comfort her daughter. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did choose you for this task, maybe just not in the way that you thought you were going to be chosen for it. And so we run into people sometimes who will either give us an outlet to do something good, or sometimes they'll be there to give us a message from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because Allah also wants you to do good. So sometimes he will send you people to help discipline you a little bit. And the example that I have for myself, I was in I think it was called Mass West or something like that. I forget the name, but I think it's Mass West. And it's a huge conference they do on the West Coast every year. And I remember I was in Salatul Jama'ah, it was Friday prayer. And I was wearing it was a long shirt and a long sleeve shirt, but the shirt kind of like is one of those sleeves where you can kind of clip it up a little bit like here. So it goes like half up your arm. And I was praying, and there was this lady that came and was praying next to me. And she like waited till I finished prayer. And she looks at me and she goes, and she starts showering me with compliments. She's like, you're so sweet, you're so beautiful, you're so this. And she's saying all these nice things. And of course I'm like, oh, this woman's about to like offer me her son or something, right? Like she's got a proposal, something's going on. And then she goes, after she gives me all this love, she goes, honey, she goes, I was looking at your arms, and she's like, and I swear while I was praying, I was asking God, like, should I say something, Allah, like, do I say anything to her? I don't want to upset her. And she like debated with herself so hardcore until she spoke to me. And normally, I'm going to be honest with you, my knee-jerk reaction in that situation would be like, girl, come on, like, give me a break. Like, that's not a big deal. Like, it's just a little bit. Like, honestly, that's my shaitan speaking. But with the way that she approached me, she was so sweet. I had to sit with myself and think about it. I'm like, Ya Allah, okay, did you send me this woman to deliver this message that maybe my hijab is not perfect right now? Like I should be covering up to my wrists? And people are usually well-intentioned, honestly. They usually are. It's just, I think not everybody's delivery is great, which is what I think this lady was so good at, is she was so sweet in approaching me that I couldn't reject what she was saying. And then I'm like, okay, now I'm receptive to what you got to say to me. And it ended up being beneficial information, you know, and I have to be aware of that. So alhamdulillah. And I had to think about it, and I had to like really, you know, control my nafs and pull it back and say, okay, don't be defensive. Let's hear what she's saying. And subhanAllah, I never met this woman in my life. I never saw her again. She was a very sweet lady. But she said it like as pure advice, you know, from Allah. And she unbuttoned my thing for me and she put my sleeve down. And then I never did that again. And I was like, you know what? Sometimes Allah sends people to send you a message. Everything and everyone you interact with is not by accident. So we have to consider that when we think of our fate, our destiny, how Allah is controlling and maneuvering our life to help us. So how do we put this into practice, right? The idea is that you recognize this. You recognize that everything happens for a reason. It's destiny. And everything is calculated very specifically by Allah. And when I need help, I turn to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I seek Him before I seek anybody else. And I take everything into consideration. So it's always, I'm telling you, like it's a known thing where like the khalas will come up to you in the masjid and say, oh, your hijab is this or your skirt is that. And we tend to be very defensive about these things. It's good to take it and absorb it and ask yourself, okay, what am I supposed to be hearing right now? Maybe the delivery isn't always the best, and we try to be the best when we deliver these advices, but we really take it in as, is Allah trying to tell me something? Is Allah trying to show me something? Same thing with any test you face, right? Whenever you're going through something difficult, there is a reason. And you have to ask yourself, what is Allah trying to teach me right now? What does He want from me? What am I supposed to learn from this, right? So this is kind of the understanding of Al-Muhyamin.